Hello and welcome to episode number 76 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's the week of December 2nd. My name is Daryl, and today I'm once again joined by my good friend Sergio. How are you, man?
Hey Daryl, I'm doing pretty awesome. It's been a few weeks of really good gaming. A lot of gaming going on my side. Yeah, it's awesome. Best hobby, and it's even better when you actually play the games that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, let me just say, it's nice to have you back, man. I mean, you went through kind of a dark period, so... and I'm actually not making any jokes here. Like, it's nice to have you, like, playing games.
Yeah, no, it is.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And, normally I would say, and we're also joined by Kevin. This week, he actually got tied up with some work stuff, so he's not going to be joining us. However, we do have a returning special guest. Hello.
What's good, everyone?
Hey, so it's Rebecca, aka Beczilla. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Gaming also. I decided to do Breath of the Wild in Master Mode, and it's sufficiently difficult.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, so to be clear, the thing that I started and I was like, yeah, this probably isn't worth the time. she's making really good progress in.
Nice.
So.
I already have 300 apples, so we're good.
Yeah. Well, she's climbing back up to her 999 apples. Yeah, if you don't know this already, my wife is probably the the biggest Sherpa for Hyrule in Breath of the Wild that there could be. So
Nice.
There you go. Anyways, unfortunately, Kevin couldn't join us, but we wanted to bring Rebecca in because we're talking this week about Luigi's Mansion 3. It's our game of the month for November. We're finally getting a chance to actually talk about it, review it, and she just happened to be the first member of our Discord who actually beat the game, so it kind of felt fitting. Overall thoughts, and I'm actually going to start with you, Rebecca. Overall thoughts of the game. You don't have to give it a score right now, but, is it good? Should we buy it? Should we play it?
Yes. Sunk about 22 hours, I think, total into the game. I really enjoyed it. I wish it were a little bit longer, although it was a little repetitive in some cases. I'm sure we'll get into that later, but I really liked it, and I like Dark Moon too, and it was very reminiscent of that, so I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And Sergio, I think you beat it yesterday.
Yes.
So, overall starting thoughts?
Overall, really, really liked it a lot. Heavily recommended, whether you have played previous Luigi's Mansion games before or not. I would say this is the best of the three. Definitely my favorite. Yes, a big recommendation. A lot of fun. Overall, there was no moment in the game that I thought wasn't fun. And, we play video games for fun, so this is jam-packed with it.
Yeah, and I mean, as for me, I actually didn't play much of Dark Moon, a little tiny bit, but it wasn't... Initially, when it came out, I was actually excited for Dark Moon, and then I just it was one of those games that just kind of got put on the back burner, and, started it up, it was okay. I was like, all right. But I really liked the first game, and this one came out, and, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, this is maybe the most charming game I've ever played in my life. Just every moment of it, oozes personality just over and over and over. And, sometimes they play to the same type of joke, aka Luigi is scared in a different way.
Yes.
And it's just, every part of the game just, was a smile moment for me, and that was kind of awesome. Did you guys kind of feel that?
No, yeah, I definitely got that feeling too, and that was one concern that I saw in some early, previews of the game, that, the ghost personalities were too similar, or they kind of seem like they lack personality, in fact, but I disagree. I feel like the overall game it had a lot of personality, a lot of good moments. Luigi for sure was the star. I mean, he's the titular character, right? But he really shined throughout the whole game in his own way, in his very unique Luigi game way. But yeah, I have no complaints with the game in terms of personality, character. It really shined through on that end.
I agree. Even seeing the dichotomy between Mario and Luigi in those final scenes.
Yes.
That was really cool to see, because Mario's so insistent and Luigi's like, nah, bro.
and annoying AF. Oh my
Kind of, yeah.
Like they really played that up, the thing that I've been talking about for the past few weeks. So thank you, Nintendo, for that. Just just give me all that ammunition. That's great. Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you have not beaten the game, fear not. We're not going to get too far into spoilers other than the things that you could normally deduce from the game. Now, here's what we're going to talk about. We are going to discuss the overall themes of the floors. We're not going to give away puzzles or, specific strategies or anything like that. But we're going to talk about a little bit about the floor themes, even late game stuff, because I do want to, as we get into it, a lot of it kind of goes into my overall opinion of the game. We're also going to briefly discuss the ghosts, but obviously not exactly how to beat them or anything like that. We're not going to trend too far into spoilers, so, fair warning, but we're not gonna. This is a game that is mostly moment to moment experiences, so it's actually kind of hard to spoil. Like, from the first 5 minutes that you're going to be fighting King Boo at the end of the game. Spoiler, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not. There's not a whole lot here that you can spoil, other than these really, really funny, hilarious moments. And the only way we could spoil those is if we put videos up, and we're not going to do that. So, fear not. I just wanted to set some ground rules, I guess, a little bit as we go. So I guess let's start where we probably should start, which is at the beginning of the game. Where Luigi and company, friends, Three Toads, Luigi, Peach, and Mario are going to this beautiful hotel resort. Beautiful. I mean, it's sparkling, and they have presents and balloons everywhere. The staff is super friendly, and you get to your room, and it's awesome. And you try to open drawers and things pop out, but it's like happy things, and it's really, really funny. I knew like 5 minutes in, I knew this game was going to be incredible. We all kind of knew the turn it was going to take, but did this opening kind of surprise you guys?
Yeah, it starts out so bright, like crazy bright, and
even the title screen.
Yeah, from the beginning it gets you like, is this really a Luigi's Mansion game? What's going on? This is way too bright and happy. But of course, you get to the real part of the game when everything turns dark and everything is scary. But I really like the beginning of it, how they played it out, and everything was very nice.
I agree. It kind of lent itself to how Luigi is so terrified when things change, because he's sleeping in the back when they get to the hotel, when it's sparkling and stuff. He's so nonchalant about it. And then as soon as things shift, you can kind of understand why Luigi is so terrified. It makes sense.
So as you were kind of exploring the lobby first off, and everything's bright and sparkly and shiny and nice and such, all the Mario characters are kind of just like, tooling around, making Mario noises like, oh,
yeah.
Like at everything, right? Because they like the hotel
right.
and such. So eventually they all get separated into their rooms. Classic horror movie trope. There you go. They all get separated into their rooms, and things change. So Luigi falls asleep and then wakes back up, and all of a sudden everything is dark. The things that were all happy before are all now scary. The things that jump out of the drawers and such look like Bowser hands, things like that. And he starts freaking out, like just utterly freaking out. And that's when I noticed one of my favorite animations ever, was right after he gets scared on stuff. He's just gets this like really jittery walk. I don't even know how to. Sergio, you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
Like he freaks out, and then like for the next few seconds, even as you keep moving around, he just starts like, he keeps this jittery, and his face is priceless and such.
Yes.
So right then, and I'm belaboring this a little bit, but right then, like, if they're going the extra mile on his reactions to this, and Like, to be clear, in this game, there's a lot of actual, like, legitimate horror movie interactions that are completely played off as slapstick purely because of Luigi. So in this game, there are, like, simple jump scares and, traps and things like that, in a different trapping, this would actually be kind of a horror game.
Yeah.
But because Luigi is freaking out more than you ever could, you can't help but just, like, laugh at him. And I just thought I thought that was wonderful, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it goes back to portraying Luigi the way he is. Like we kind of touched on earlier, he's so different from Mario, and Nintendo is just going all out with that. Luigi has been the star in similar scary games twice before, and clearly he's not getting used to it. And I think that's part of the magic for the series, that we see Luigi, experiencing these type of environments, and he's still super scared, as always, as he's ever gonna be. So he doesn't want to learn. He just wants everything to be nice.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back, I mean, Luigi and Mario were basically the same character, or at least very close, until, like, the Nintendo 64. So this is not a very early thing that he's kind of diverged from Mario in these ways. There was a little bit of it on Super Nintendo, but not that much. It's really been fun to see him kind of grow into his own character. You can tell Charles Martinet, the voice actor who does Mario and Luigi and Wario and Waluigi, clearly had fun with this role. Like, clearly, like, just yelling a lot.
I always think it's interesting to see a character be more terrified than Toad.
That's true. That's a really good point, yeah.
Yeah, so the one thing I want to touch on is still from the early point. So eventually you get into the rooms of the other Mario characters. So you get in Peach's room. It's very clearly her room. She has pink luggage and stuff, and it's nice and all that. And then you get to Mario's room. I don't know how many people caught this, but I found it hilarious. Mario freaking trashed his room. Like, absolutely trashed his room. There is, like, slices of pizza everywhere. I'm not kidding. Like, an open box of pizza on the floor, slices and plates of pizza on the dresser and bed and table and floor. I think there's one in the bathroom.
There is.
Like, if you didn't notice that, you're welcome, because that... Mario is such an a-hole in this game, and it's really funny.
Mario's a rock star. He can do what he wants. Even though it was comped for Luigi.
Yeah. So anyways, I just want to make that point. So at this point now, after some initial gameplay and such, you start kind of the gameplay loop of the game, which is going through the floors of this hotel, quote unquote. And each floor is very, very different. So what they've done with this, a large complaint with Dark Moon was actually how separate the mansions felt. So there were multiple mansions in Dark Moon. Didn't really feel like a continual world and such. And people, there was some backlash to that after the first game, which was literally just one big mansion that was all continuous. It was, made sense, the floor plan and everything like that. So what they've done is kind of a mixture of both. In that way. So you have this central concept of the elevator moving between the floors, but all the floors are extremely different and get weirder and weirder as you go. So the first like 3 or 4, I mean, are fairly standard, what you might expect, and then after that it just goes crazy town.
Yeah.
So I mean, what did you guys think about the overall, like, did that work for you? Did it feel continuous for you, especially as you progressed through the game, or was it just kind of okay?
At first, it was a little bit of like, it reminded me of Dark Moon, and one of my main complaints with that game is that it was too big for its own good, if that makes any sense. I guess, Luigi's Mansion, the first one, was a little on the short side, and Dark Moon had more content, but maybe it had too much. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I feel like that was the case. And with Luigi's Mansion 3, I feel like by breaking it off into a lot more rooms, up to 15 or so, or even more than that. But since they're a little bit smaller than the mansions in Dark Moon, they kind of made it work, and they had a lot of more different themes to play with. Um, like I was mentioning, yeah, there's a point where you realize that the floors are getting really crazy and they couldn't really be hotel floors. But I feel like by that point, you kind of, I mean, if you play Dark Moon, you kind of expect that, and if not, the game does a good job of just going with it, because it's a different theme. You're still looking for a next button to go to the next elevator floor, so it ties it all together, I think.
I agree. I never really felt a weird moment where it was like this couldn't happen because it's a haunted hotel. So I kind of thought paranormal, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything works. So I did like the fact that it amped up to that. So there was a lot of things that you would normally see in a hotel, and then it went off
Yeah.
the hinges. So if it had just kind of jumped right into that, I think it would have been a little bit more strange.
Yeah. And I mean, from a gameplay loop, this is pretty classic Luigi's Mansion. So, we were talking about it in the Discord the other day. You really have like 6 inputs, like, or 7 inputs or something. You can vacuum, you can blow with a vacuum. You have a flashlight, a dark light. You can do a jump move.
Mm-hmm.
New in this game, you have a plunger, which you can pull on things with and such. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's there's Luigi's move set. So through the course of the game, and I kind of disregard Gooigi because he's kind of just another Luigi that can access different areas. But I mean, over the course of the game, you pretty much use those tools that I just mentioned, those 6 or 7. One of the things that I was most impressed with the game was how well, like, Luigi's Mansion games are all about the secrets and all about the hidden areas and extra treasure and finding as many gold bars as you possibly can because reasons. And one of the things I was most impressed by with the game was how good how good of a job they did at hiding those things, despite the fact that pretty much everything can be solved with like one of 6 or 7 moves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought it was interesting to see you play and see that you use that jump mechanic more, and I use the blower mechanic more to achieve the same results. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and it's just kind of a preference style. But I mean, other than that, you're going through the floors, and you will always be attacked by lots and lots of ghosts, and Luigi will freak out and then proceed to just absolutely destroy them with the new slam move. So this is where it gets a little divisive, especially with long-term Luigi fans. Sergio, what did you think of the slam move? Overpowered or fun, or both?
Honestly, I don't think it's as overpowered as I heard it was going to be. I mean, it's definitely optional, but I think it's fun too. And I mean, it does more damage to the ghost that you're sucking up, but it's also a cool way to keep the combo going. So I liked it overall. I thought it was a neat addition. Maybe later on in the game you can slam the ghost about 5 times. Maybe if it was up to 3 times, that would have been maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, you've played them as well. What did you think about it?
Well, I've only played Dark Moon in 3. But I did think it was quite overpowered when it was 5. I agree with Sergio. I didn't think about that, but doing it 3 times would have been the sweet spot, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing I would say, kind of in defense of it a little bit, is they seemed to just use that as an excuse where every once in a while they would throw like, a dozen ghosts at you all at once, and they felt fairly free to do these like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by them. What am I supposed to do? And then as Luigi, you grab one, you slam him into another one, and then you suck him up, and then you grab the other one that you've been that's now wounded.
Right.
And you just like, kind of to your point, at times the game flows really well between these like huge interactions, where you can clear rooms of like 10 plus ghosts pretty quick overall, which is something that the first game definitely did not have. The first game was very deliberate with hunting ghosts. Dark Moon kind of followed that, to me, Dark Moon's ghosts were a little less interesting than the first one. Just overall, it might have just been a novelty thing. I'm not sure, but
No, I would agree.
okay. They seem to recycle, and this game is more similar, kind of, to Dark Moon. But I think they've done some really good things with trying to make special ghosts here and there,
Yes.
and trying to surprise you as much as possible. Like I'm a big fan of like the tiny ghosts that pop up.
Yes.
That all of a sudden there's like 50 of them, but they, they don't require any actual work to like suck up.
Yes.
There's just a ton of them.
Yes.
Like, did you guys have of the regular ghosts? So we'll get into the named ghosts in a second. Did you guys have like a favorite normal type ghost?
I guess I would go with the yellow ones. I guess the gold ones, basically, because
God, they're so annoying.
yeah.
The gold ones are less so. The yellow ones are really annoying.
And I guess because, well, I don't know which one I'm talking about then, because there's one that you kind of limited in terms of time, because once you successfully suck it up, you get a lot of gold out of it. So
yeah, those are the gold ones.
okay, and those like spin around, and yeah, you're limited on time. They're kind of a little bit annoying, but I like the timed aspect of them, because of course you want the gold. So I mean they take a bunch of tries and a bunch of slamming to finally suck them up completely, but I thought it was fun.
In Dark Moon, can I spoil something in Dark Moon at least? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's a pretty old game, and same things apply. This game is kind of hard to spoil. It just kind of is.
Yeah. In Dark Moon, one of the first rooms has Greenie in the shower, and he's my favorite. I really, really love him. And I think that just the normal blue ghosts in 3 were fashioned after the Greenies.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of partial to them. I think they're adorable. And the crystal ghosts are hilarious because they do not stop screaming.
Oh, man, let me jump into it. At times in this game, you save toads, and then you escort them back. If there are times that you find a crystal ghost at the same time that you're escorting a toad, they like all 3 characters, so Toad, the ghost, and Luigi, all see each other, all freak out simultaneously. Toad starts running around, the ghost starts running around. Luigi's like, you're controlling him, so then you start trying to catch this ghost that's running around like crazy. Again, like as an atmosphere personality type game, maybe the best ever. Honestly, maybe. I couldn't stop laughing at times, and that is really, really nice as a gamer, to kind of set aside the dark, moody, gritty world of Pokemon and then get back into slapstick of Luigi. So yeah, that's just me. I don't know. I really, really enjoyed the personality that this game had.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of makes up for the story, because, the story is very generic. Like you said, you see the final boss pretty early on in the game. You know what's going to happen. But I feel like part of the story or the charm of the game is seeing how Luigi goes through everything. And not only him, but Professor Egat, the Toads, the other characters, even the ghosts, the different personalities that they bring. The regular ones, but specifically the bosses. I feel like it kind of makes up for the story in a way, and it does a lot of world building. So, like you said, it's just full of charm, and it gives you want to keep playing, not only because of the fun that you're having by playing the game, but because you want to see what else Luigi's gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it almost turns into like a Wallace and Gromit type situation a little bit, where like they divert your expectations every once in a while. And like it's just they kind of realize that it's the same joke over and over, but they do the really strong play of making it slightly different every time. So I don't have great non-spoilery examples of this, but I will say, as you are playing the game, what you might expect to happen is not always what happens at all. And when it doesn't happen the way you think it might, it gets even funnier. And like, yeah, I digress. The game's super funny. It's really, really charming. Love the personality of it. So at this point, I asked a few questions to kind of guide some of the reviews from our Discord, which we'll get into in a little bit. Actually, a lot of people wrote in, so thanks to everyone. We'll get through as many of them as we possibly can. I'm going to ask you guys the same questions. So what was your favorite floor of the hotel? So there are roughly 15 floors, all different themes. What ended up being your favorite floor? Maybe not your favorite boss ghost, but just overall the atmosphere of the floor.
That takes some thought.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
I like 7 garden suites.
Yeah, people mention garden suites a lot. So there's a big moment in garden suites that I do not want to spoil. It's a different item than you get anywhere else in the game that makes it really great.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, Serge.
Yes.
If you get there, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's the reason most people, like a lot of people, mention it. But yeah, I really liked garden suites a lot.
Yeah, since I had played it before you, I was interested to see you find that item. You just said that and I kind of blinked for a second, and then I was like, oh wait, yeah, I was really excited about that. And yeah, it kind of amped up in difficulty there. Like, this isn't a hard game, but it was more difficult starting on floor 7, I think, and that kind of carried through.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, Sergio, do you have one?
Yeah, and I'm surprised even myself, but overall, I like floor 6 the most, the castle.
Oh, yeah, the castle is awesome. I loved the medieval theme.
Yeah, and it's a great theme, and I think that's when the game really went places, like we mentioned. And, by that point, you're already done 5 or more floors, so you're kind of getting used to how the game is going, and then all of a sudden, you're in this completely different environment, but in a way, you're still in the hotel. So I really like that, and I feel like that floor had a lot of exploration and a lot of it was the first floor that really went with the theme, and the ones after that kept the trend going. So that one sticks out in my mind for sure.
Yeah, probably after castle, like the floors, like you mentioned, get a lot more themed, and at that point, pretty much all of them are fantastic. There's one that I just don't like, Basement 2. I really, really hate Basement 2.
I don't like it either.
And you have to go there twice, which really, really bothered me for some reason. But literally every other floor was just a fun time. I think I got to go with probably the safe choice here. So my favorite overall floor, they actually showed it off at E3. It's the movie floor, the movie set. So Luigi and Guigi are traveling to different rooms and starring in various movies. So you actually get behind the camera as Guigi is running around, like starring in the movie and solving puzzles that way. I will say that the puzzles in that floor were a little more abstract. It took a bit of like, what? What am I supposed to do? But overall, for the memory, especially at the end of that floor, they showed it off at E3, so I don't mind spoiling too much. There's basically Luigi in a Godzilla movie. That was magic. It was just that I loved that. I loved every minute of that floor. So yeah, I think that'd probably have to be mine.
Nice.
That floor paid homage to the only movie on the planet that actually scares me.
Yeah. So
no spoilers, but if you've played it, you know.
Fine, I won't spoil it. I was gonna say it, but fine. Okay, so there's our favorite floor. Now, maybe coinciding that with that, maybe not. Who is your favorite boss ghost? So like the named ghosts. If you don't remember their name, don't worry about it. Just say who they were.
Twisted Sisters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I really liked them.
I just realized that's a band reference, and that's really funny. But yeah, I liked them and their floor a lot. That was probably my runner-up. So the Twisted, I forget exactly what it's called, Twisted Corridor or Twisted Mansion or something.
I can't remember, but I remember them.
Yeah, they were great. So there's 3 of them.
Well, I have 2. I have a favorite boss ghost and a favorite. Not so much of a boss, but he had a lot of personality, I thought. So my favorite boss was the shark. The boss fight with the shark. I loved it.
So great.
And favorite ghost, even though you don't really fight him, and I guess in a way you like the game kind of forces you to. I mean, you can. It's optional, I think. The director in the movie.
Yeah, Morty.
Mentioned.
Our good
Yeah.
friend Morty, the one ghost in the series that you don't seem to have to catch at all.
Yeah,
I
and
did
he's
that.
just nice. He's nice, and yeah, I really like that part.
Oh yeah, Morty. I mean, I loved Morty. So I unless I'm wrong, he was like the one ghost you don't actually have to catch in the series.
Right, right.
And,
I kind of felt bad going going after him. I mean, I didn't even. I thought, oh, can I? And I did, and I feel bad.
so, did you initially, or did you at the end?
At the end.
Okay, so did you actually see the final cut of the movie?
Oh, I don't think
you
I
didn't.
did.
You didn't. You can go back and actually watch like the final cut of the
Oh.
Luigizilla movie. It's not really any different or fantastic or anything like that, but it's just kind of a nice Easter egg thing.
Nice,
Kind of
yeah.
sad now because I missed it too.
Yeah. So, man, I loved Morty. He was kind of annoying, but I liked him. So, poor guy. I think for me, and I'm having trouble with this one. I really like the shark too. But to go with somebody different, I think overall it would be remiss to not mention that this game has a dance floor, like
Yes.
a club floor near the end of the game. I am not going to spoil anything about it at all, but the boss of that overall was among my favorite moments of the game, period. So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Okay. Well, if you can remember a specific one, what was your favorite Luigi reaction? If there are any specific ones.
You mentioned mine already.
What?
He gets scared. He starts walking towards the camera, so he's facing it, clenched jaw, shoulders up,
But
and he's like,
jittering.
it's great. It's so wonderful.
You know, I'm forgetting the specifics, but there's a part where Luigi seems to be a little braver than usual. He's reaching out to grab the an elevator button that is sort of within his grasp. I forget which one it is, but it seemed cool, like to seeing him being a little more out there until he sees a ghost again and everything goes back to normal. I love that.
I'm gonna lump my favorite reactions, I think, all into one here, and just say literally every time Polterpup jumps out that Luigi does not expect him, and Luigi freaks out and then gets relieved that it's his friendly ghost dog.
Yes.
Amazing. All of it. And it happens a bunch of times. There's a really funny one on the movie set. And there's a few that are just great. So, but Polterpup is always helpful. That's why he's so much better than Eevee. So there you go.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
There was one point where Polterpup saved the day again, and I said, "Oh, good doggy," and Luigi goes, "Oh, good doggy." It was great.
Did you guys? So, Sergio, did you get to play any of the multiplayer modes?
Yes, I tried them both with 2 players only, but I did try them both. I forget the name of what's the new mode?
Scream Park, I believe.
Yes, that's correct. So, that one was new and it was interesting, passable. I feel like the multiplayer, the main reason you want to play multiplayer is definitely the Scare-Scraper. And at least with 2 players, man, it is challenging. We could only beat 1 or 2 floors, me and Danny.
Yeah.
Man, that was crazy hard.
Yeah, so Scare-Scraper it's returning from Dark Moon. I didn't play it at all in Dark Moon, so I can't comment too much on it. It's hard. It definitely is, and it scales its difficulty with the number of players too. So if you have more than 2 players, in some ways it's a little bit easier, but also the quotas go up.
Oh,
so
man.
Like the number of ghosts you need to catch or the amount of money you need to find or whatever that is goes up with the number of players. So yeah, if you have some people who maybe a little newer, maybe don't know the game too much, it was surprisingly hard for this game when the game is not all that hard to begin with. To suddenly have like this really challenging multiplayer mode, as somebody who really likes that kind of thing, I don't mind. I enjoyed it, but I could actually see that being fairly off-putting to a lot of other players who, like you said, you get 1 or 2 floors in and then you just die and then that's it.
Yeah, and not only that, but honestly, compared with the difficulty of Scarescraper in Dark Moon, that one was fun, but it was mostly easy. It was hard to lose on a floor on that one, but
Oh,
this
okay.
is completely different. Like the difficulty really scaled up.
Yeah. So, I managed to play it a bunch of different ways. So I played it with 4 Luigis, just each a person controlling each. I played 2-player mode with Dragon, so he and I actually went through a round of 10 floors and got through it somehow.
Oh, nice.
I don't actually know how that happened. And we actually played a round with 5 players, so I actually had Beck with me playing as Luigi, which I thought was actually kind of entertaining experience. What did you think about it?
I liked it. That was the only time I played multiplayer. But it was fun. I liked being Luigi. Dragon afterward asked, are you tethered? And you are. If you're Luigi, you're tethered to your Luigi local player.
Yeah, didn't know going in that the Luigis cannot leave the room that their Luigi is in. So it's really like a co-op. You're both searching rooms really fast, and that's just kind of how it goes. It was okay. I thought it was actually pretty fun, to be honest.
It was, but I think I would like to try it normally and see how that goes.
Yeah.
But I haven't yet. Hopefully soon.
But you will.
I will.
And then for me, Scream Park, I tried it a little bit. The one thing I want to say, and I'll get into this a little bit later, I think that the controls of this game are kind of anti the Mario Party style that it's going for. This is not a game that you're going to just hand to somebody and they're going to be like instantly able to play.
Oh, no.
So while the mini games are fun, it actually takes a little bit of a barrier of entry. You've got to have some people who kind of know how to play Luigi's Mansion, which, how many people are you going to find in a local only setting like that?
Yeah.
Not that many. So I just don't see myself getting that much use out of that mode, unfortunately, because the mini games are actually kind of fun. I was more disappointed that it wasn't online, I think is what I'm saying.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why Scarescraper was online, but Scream Park was not. For that matter, I kind of get why the campaign wasn't online, but I think it would have been better if it were. So there was just some kind of odd choices there, but overall, Scarescraper was a hit for me. Not a huge one. I can't see myself going back and back and back to it, a la Rocket League or Smash or Splatoon or Killer Queen or something like that. But it is a fun time, when I do play it. So yeah, overall a hit, but not really the the main draw of the game.
True, and I believe we did hear that it's getting DLC, even though we haven't heard anything about it, I believe, since that announcement. Honestly, I mean, I'm hoping they kind of add an easy mode. I would come back if they do that, but
I kind of expect that.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Yeah, and I would actually be pretty interested in the DLC for that, because the things going into it are, it's fairly samey every time you play it. Like the events and such that happen and the things that you have to do are different each time, but you always pretty much end up with the same boss at the end and things like that. So after a few times, you're kind of like, okay, I saw it. That's kind of it. So DLC, I think, actually could really help that mode a lot. All right, so at this point, I think I'm going to hold off on final thoughts and some negatives and such on here. Let's jump into a few of the Discord reviews. Sergio, you want to start us off with somebody?
Yes. So Rube told us on Discord that this is a gorgeous looking game with great lighting effects and an awesome atmosphere. Oh, that is definitely a good point. The gameplay was solid, but it started to feel a bit repetitive during the last third of the game. The slam attack with the poltergust is really overpowered, and it makes the game kind of easy. That's something we discussed. It could be either way, but
it certainly makes it easier. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. The campaign is not that hard to get through. Not really.
That's true. And Rube finishes by saying, it was fun to play through, but I'll probably a long while until I boot it up again. It's still solid, though. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Beck, you want the next one?
Sure. Jolly Bear 312 says it was a great game, although it started to repeat after a few floors. So, flew floors. Because, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's mentioning, or she is mentioning the same thing. Other than that, it was a great game. Polter Pup will remain the best part of the game, though.
Agreed.
Here.
Nice.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, so you sense some themes coming here. Okay. All right, Phoenix wrote in, the game was a big surprise for me. Never played its predecessors, wasn't very interested when it was announced, but got a bit curious, and she had a voucher. So she was very pleasantly surprised. So game completely captivated me. Don't think I've ever beaten a game so fast. Constantly amazed and amused at the cleverness in the puzzles and their designs. I think we touched on that a little bit. My favorite floor was the movie floor. That is the correct answer. I would score the game 8 out of 10. I'm having a hard time picking my favorite ghost. Is it cheating to say Polterpup? Yes, but I'll allow it.
Never the wrong answer.
Yeah. And Luigi's reaction throughout chasing down Poulter Kitty was probably my favorite. We'll get to Poulter Kitty in a second.
Yes.
I need to talk about Poulter Kitty in a second. So yeah, she would just urge you all to find all the gems and extras before taking on the final boss, because it gets a little funny about the save at that point. I think you can load your save after beating the boss. I think you can reload your save back to the final floor instead of the boss.
Yes.
But yeah, it gets a little funny. So definitely, I would recommend this too. Finish as much as you want to do before the boss. It gives you an option. It gives you a chance to. So yeah. All right, Sergio, you want to take the next review?
Yeah, and I like this one by Svaro because it's very different. He says, Luigi's Mansion 3 is one Nintendo game released this year that I have not picked up, and I kind of regret not getting it. I hope to get it by Christmas because it seems like something I would really enjoy, but I put it off because I never played the series before. Honestly, I wish I picked this up instead of Mario Maker. And
ouch.
Let's come back to that later as well, comparing it to Mario, but I would definitely urge anyone that even if you haven't played the previous games in the series, this is a great one to start with. It's a really good game. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you have played or haven't, or if you like them. This is really good game.
Okay, I think I'm gonna jump on the next one because this is Dragon's novel. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Sorry, Dragon, but yeah, if you want to read it, please join our Discord. So Luigi's Mansion 3 is a game that excels in an atmosphere and personality. Yes. So he goes into it's blanketing in its warm mood right from the get-go, with the welcome in the hotel and such, and transitioned to what would soon become a living nightmare of the last resort of a hotel. Yeah, by the way, I loved that the hotel was named the Last Resort. That was just really funny to me. So he goes, he talks about the floors a little bit. He says, my favorite parts of the game were Luigi's ever goofy, ever frightened, knock on wood resilience, but always with a half-step sure-footedness in his belief in himself and his quest to save his friends. Hence, Luigi is the best Nintendo character. We already talked about this. So the opening to each floor was a real treat just to see how Luigi would express himself and his complicated emotions next. So I think he's talking about like actually exiting the elevator, which those were great.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes.
Especially the ones that like there wasn't anything right out of the elevator. So he's like, oh.
Yeah, he kind of likes it, yeah.
Then he just kind of runs out.
This place is kind of cool.
The other highlight is definitely Luigi's doppelganger, Gooigi. So favorite aspect of Gooigi was having him and Luigi work together with toe-to-toe poltergusting ability to take on puzzles, foes, and even lending each other a helping hand in the only way each unique counterpart could. So a little bit, it was really only the plunger that has continued to wow me throughout this adventure, and how well it tied into Luigi's slam ability, as well as being key to exploration itself, allowing Luigi to slam and break objects for a cathartically entertaining new means of finding hidden secrets. Yeah, that's a very, very well said. Luigi's Mansion 3 may feel like it has too many great ideas that have trouble refining themselves over the course of his adventure. Though general ghost combat seems pared down, the creativity in bosses is a real highlight. All in all, this is still a great game with a lot of love and personality that oozes charm and exudes in its joyful mischief. I'd award it an 8 out of 10. And he hasn't beaten it yet, so. All right. That review said a lot of things I'm going to come back to in a little bit, but Beck, you want to move on to the next one?
Sure. Naprat is playing the movie set right now, so he's in for a lot of fun.
Entering the best part of the game.
Yes, and he says it's certainly gorgeous and fun to play. He loves the bosses and their set pieces / mechanics. The combat is at its best with the unique boss fights, which unfortunately aren't very prominent in the multiplayer so far.
Not at all.
Yeah. So, and he says he's not so keen on the slam mechanic. The exploring and aesthetics in the levels are close to perfection, better than he'd hoped we'd get. And Luigi and the character models are stunning. The lighting effects, he mentions that as well. It's all great to add to the chorus here. So he said he hasn't played a ton of multiplayer, but he's all in for more at some point, especially if there's DLC. And he's looking forward to playing co-op with his nephews over the Christmas holidays. And he thinks it's one of the most Nintendo-like games released this year, and the graphics really are top-notch.
Nice.
He's really glad he got it.
Yeah, I think probably the graphics are getting like maybe a little overlooked in the overall talk about the game. It's a gorgeous game.
Yes.
It's really, really nice looking.
But with the Nintendo charm, it's just like polished Nintendo charm.
Definitely.
So Sergio, you want we got 2 more.
Yes, I see here one by Icelander Chewy. And he says, my quick review, it's gorgeous. I thought the game looked fine on the commercials, but to see it in person, it's truly wonderful. He has explored the hotel a little bit, but most of his gameplay has actually been in the skyscraper. He loves the variety of challenges and the scenarios. So that goes to highlight, that this game does have multiplayer, and I myself have overlooked it, but it's a considerable part of the game. So you can get a great single player game and a great multiplayer game, one package.
Yeah, for sure. And spot on all that. All right, so yeah, I said we had 2 more. That was actually it. But no, thanks to everyone for writing those in. Like I said, you kind of sense a theme there, and I actually think everybody's really spot on, and it just depends on exactly how certain things struck you over the course of the game. So the things that they hit, the game gets a little repetitive. It really does. Like I found myself just kind of jetting through the last levels, and that's a little sad because some of the last levels are the best environments, the best atmosphere. But it was almost kind of a, I've done this, so I'm just gonna, let's go. Come on, Luigi, let's go catch some ghosts. Oh yeah, you're still scared, I get it, but you've caught about 1,000 ghosts at this point, so you should be okay. But yeah, I mean, did you guys kind of feel that, like, especially like probably floors like 13 and on just start kind of like, they're great floors, they're great atmospheres, but they just start kind of weighing on you like, okay.
You know what my complaint was? Honestly, probably my only complaint with the game, which is crazy. It's the few floors that are very reminiscent of Dark Moon. I felt like those were the repetitive ones, but it's more like I've been here, I've done this in a previous game, and I played that like at least 4 years ago, so it's been a while, but it still felt very familiar. Like they really felt very similar to those specific mansions in Dark Moon. But even so, honestly, thinking back about it, I still had a lot of fun. Like, no matter how many times you might be doing the same thing, I feel like the game just makes it fun regardless.
It certainly tries hard to make it fun. Like I said, some of the last, like, the floor I mentioned, the dance floor, is floor 14, so it's like right at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Beck? Kind of feel the same, or?
Well, looking back, yeah, some of the higher floors were a little, you were kind of just getting through them, like you said. But the penultimate fight was really entertaining, I thought. So I'm kind of looking back on it more fondly than I think I would have had that fight not been excellent.
Yeah, better than the final boss, for sure.
So.
Yes, yes.
It was kind of odd, but it was like clearly the better fight in the game. Interesting. And then to add to the repetition a little bit, let's talk about Poulter Kitty. Okay.
Why?
Okay. So, if there were ever a question about dogs versus cats, this proves it right here. Poulter Pup versus Poulter Kitty. Ouch.
You know, somebody, actually Danny, friend of the show, he told me, "Oh, I heard that there's a kitty in the game," and that kind of got me excited to keep playing the
It's
game.
not a
And I
selling
thought,
point.
no, you know what happened? I thought, oh, it's gonna be a nice cat. It's gonna play along with Poulter. I mean, I should have known better. Nintendo knows cats, so it was
Nice.
the complete opposite. Let's say.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get into it. Poulter Kitty, it pops up twice in the game after you have already collected the elevator button for the floor, at specific points. One of them is at the very end of the game, which is not nice. That is really annoying.
Yes.
Because what happens when Poulter Kitty grabs the button is it runs away and you have to go back through floors, yes, multiple, that you've already been through in order to find it and recover the button. That was awful. And I mean, that was awful. For this game that, is kind of cruising along at a really nice pace. It's getting a little repetitive or whatever, but in order for the game to just be like, okay, now I've got to go back down a floor to chase this stupid freaking cat to get the button back. And what's like, the battles were kind of interesting with it, but even that just repeated itself over and over and over. The whole segment repeated itself like the second time when it was the same thing. So it just felt like filler to me. I mean, did either of you have a different view of this? Did you like really enjoy the Poulter Kitty chase or anything?
I'm mixed on it. I'm definitely agree with everything you said because I felt all of that, but at the same time, I felt like it broke the linearity of you got the button, explore, and it keeps going. So when it happened, like when it breaks that linearity, I felt like it was a nice change of pace. It was a nice, frustrating change of pace, if that makes sense.
Any change is a good change, according to Sergio. All right, back.
I hated her. She was so mean and so scary. She was arguably the scariest thing in the game.
Yeah,
like the most
I could see that.
Classically.
Yeah, it turns into a freaking monster when you actually find her. So
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's a cat.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a normal cat. That's true. That's just what they do, guys. Yeah, I mean it's a break, but like they also did something kind of earlier in the game with the mice who snagged the button, and I thought that was so much better done because the mice pop up in like funny different ways in different areas than you expect them to. It had a great payoff at the end. Like I actually enjoyed that part despite doing relatively the same thing, just like confined to a single floor.
Yes, maybe that's the thing. Maybe it would have been better that way.
Yeah, I agree. The tracking and finding
it was just
was
so
a little
slow
odd.
because you're using the dark light to try to track the footprints and so. I mean, the best part of it is that Polterpup actually pops up and starts trying to help you.
Yes.
So that was kind of fun. But overall, I was just like, okay, let's get on with it. And I mean, this happens at like floor 14. It's like, oh God, let's please just get on with this. I don't want this anymore. And there is actually another example of them making you backtrack, where they actually make you backtrack to my least favorite floor in the game, Basement 2. But in this particular case, they then give you a toad friend to run around with you, and you go through a different path through the floor. It's more entertaining. It's a lot just more fun. It actually made that floor better for me. So it's not just a function of forced backtracking. I get that. It's just how it was done. I think Poulter Kitty is by far the worst part of the game, in my opinion.
Well, like with Basement 2, you go back and you are able to do more.
Yeah. So Toad is actually helping you, and I'm not going to say how exactly, but
Right. But with Poulter Kitty, even if you've gotten all the gems, you went back and got other things, you're going back and there's really not much else for you to do but battle
that's
Poulter
a good point.
Kitty.
Yep.
Yeah, and the entire time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, this is a 20-hour game that tried really hard to be a 20-hour game, and it just kind of felt like filler to me, which I'm sorry to say, like I don't really like that in any game when they feel the need to pad it for stuff. I think it would have been better as like a 15-hour game, personally. But you know, that's one thing I didn't like about the game. On top of, you know, a bunch of stuff I do pretty, you know, like pretty well. The only other thing I want to touch on as far as negatives go are the actual controls of the game. I don't feel like they work very well. They're okay, but you know, you're constantly or at least I was constantly having issues with like depth perception, and is the ghost in front of Luigi or behind, you know, like towards the screen or away from the screen? Am I turning the right direction? That kind of thing. That's kind of what I was going with this Scream Park thing, where this is not a game that, you know, like the controls are fairly simple on the outset, but it's not something that like I would hand to my parents to play this game, because they, you know, like my mom would be lost with this game. You kind of know what I mean, Serge?
Yes, definitely.
And I think they work fine, and there's a couple different setups, and neither one of them worked that well for me. I kept kind of switching between them, turning on and off the motion controls, and turning, you know, switching to using the shoulder buttons instead of the face buttons and such. And basically just throughout the entire game, I was never fully comfortable with it. I was always like, you know, like a 75% comfortable with the controls, which is every once in a while I got a little off-putting, took me out of this amazing atmosphere. And that kind of bugged me.
I can see that. I don't think I really had that problem, except with the, like you mentioned, depth perception, and also where you're shooting the plunger, especially with some of the puzzles in the game, because I feel like some of the puzzles that Professor Egat gave you tips for didn't really need them, and some that you could have used a little more help, you know, he kind of didn't say anything.
Completely obtuse. Hey, this one little section of the wall that looks a little bit different. Oh yeah, that gem that you're looking for, it's behind that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I really like the gem hunting though.
Oh yeah, and that brings me to a point that I really wanted to make, that you can play this game in two very different ways, and I kind of did. So when I started the game, I was taking my time and I was exploring everything and finding all the secret gems in each floor. Eventually, Pokemon came out and it took me out of Luigi's mansion, so I kind of had to rush the second half of the game or so, and I still had a lot of fun. And I know that I missed a lot of gems on the second half, but I have the option to go back, and I like that about this game. You can play it in two different ways. You can focus on the main gameplay and I don't want to say rushing through, but just going through the game without really taking your time to explore everything. Or you can do that. You can take your time and find everything before you move on to the next floor. And I like that you can decide how to do that from the get-go. You can play whichever way you want. You can switch it up between floors. It's not like a game where you unlock additional things after you beat the game. You can decide how you want to play this game from the very beginning. I really like that.
Yeah, going back to negatives, I guess. I'm a completionist, so what Sergio just said, I'm like, no, there's only one way. But the depth perception was a huge issue for me. I'm nearsighted, pretty severely so, and
I'm farsighted. It didn't make a difference.
Oh, okay.
it was just a game thing.
Fair enough. I kept getting hurt by things I couldn't see, and that's endlessly frustrating to me.
Yeah.
One of the first times that happened actually was on floor 7, where a snake bit me, and I was like, really? This is happening? This is a thing now? I've been spoiled by, I guess, 360 views, like Breath of the Wild, Spyro. You can look at whatever you want to look at, and since Luigi didn't do that, I was just kind of frustrated. I kept trying to do it with the R stick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't happening.
Luigi was just spinning in circles like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Pretty much. But yeah, overall, I think the game was awesome. But yeah, the controls were a big miss for me.
And to make it even better, as you took damage, like eventually it has like the low health alert.
Oh yes. I forgot all about this.
Yeah, so the low health alert that is louder than like any low health alert you've ever heard in your life. That feels like a design choice to me. It feels like something they wanted to do because it's kind of like a heartbeat.
Definitely, yeah.
Not
like
the best.
10 heartbeats in one.
Not the best, because it starts drowning literally everything else out.
Yeah.
You're like, oh god, let me find a heart so this stupid sound will stop.
Yeah.
Then that becomes my requirement, not to like stop from dying,
Yeah.
but like to actually like make this sound stop. Yeah, if that sounds minor, it is fairly minor, but it's
And it rumbles.
oh yeah, it rumbles with the heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, that unless you guys have anything else, those were pretty much our negatives. Which if you look at that, there's a couple realistic ones, but overall, let's talk final score overall. I'll go first, since I've been making you guys go first this entire episode. I really like this game. I really, really like this game. I said initially it was trying to be a game of the year for me. Even after the first few floors, I mentioned on Discord, if it continues with this pace for the rest of the game, it's going to be my game of the year, period. It didn't. And that's okay. It fell just a little bit short because of the issues that we talked about, some filler, some repetition, some control issues and here and there. But overall, I ended up on really liking it. I would definitely recommend it to pretty much anyone, if only just to, kind of embrace the atmosphere, see these crazy floors, which if you think we spoiled them, we didn't. I trust me.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So yeah, probably for me, if I'm giving it a score, which I am, I'd be right in like the 8.2 area. I don't think it's an 8.5. I don't think it's an 8. I think it's a good game, like a really good game. And I think it definitely deserves a look. So I think people are like pretty spot on with their reviews in our Discord.
Definitely, and I can see the negatives, and I did have a few of my own, but honestly, the fun that I had with this game, playing it either as a completionist for like the first half of it, or just cruising through the rest of it, either way, I had so much fun with the game that even the negatives are sort of the fun makes up for that. Going back to what Swaddle said about comparing it to Mario games, honestly, if you ask me, do you want a new Mario Odyssey, a new Mario Galaxy, or a new Luigi's Mansion? I'm gonna go with a new Luigi's Mansion.
Really?
Yes, definitely. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
And
nice.
I have an idea. What about Baby Luigi's Mansion? How awesome would that be?
Oh, so yeah, there is an actual horror game where you're playing as like a toddler. It would kind of be like that, but Luigi's Mansion style.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's do that. So I mean, that's awesome. That feels like a hot take to me, that you would take a Luigi's Mansion game over a Mario game. But honestly, I don't think I would disagree with you there. As somebody who I like Mario games, they're not my favorite games in the world. Yeah, it would depend on the quality of both games, but it's right there. It's right at that scale for me too. So good call.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Mario game fan at all.
Wait, what? No, stop.
Haven't played Odyssey, haven't played Maker. Well, Maker I did like one stage, but Maker 2, haven't touched it.
She made a level that was like from hell. Yes.
But I love the Luigi games. I think I might have liked Dark Moon more than this one, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, another hot take. I would give this one an 8 out of 10. One of the reasons I might like Dark Moon better is because it was actually one of the first games that I had ever done all by myself, like Earthbound and then Dark Moon. So I started feeling like a gamer. And so yeah, nostalgia might have an impact there. But I thought this was a great game. The controls were an issue for me. But clever, charming, beautiful. I love Poulter Pup so much. He's such a good boy. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
Nice. So I mean, I think we all kind of land on you should get this game. If you hear some of our negatives and go, no, you should get this game. Like
Yes.
None of the negatives outweigh exactly what you said, Sergio. None of the negatives outweigh the actual joy of this game, and
Right.
It's definitely an experience. It's definitely an experience we were successful in not spoiling. So yeah, please go play it. It's a lot of fun. So there you go. So I think that's gonna wrap us for Luigi's Mansion. But we do have a couple weeks of questions to actually wrap up, and a new question this week that we're gonna go ahead and answer right now. So Sergio,
Nice.
hit it.
Sure thing. So one of our pending questions was, what is your favorite gaming controller of all time? This is something that the host did discuss in a previous episode. So we have a few answers from our listeners. Cube told us that the best controller he has used is the Xbox Elite controller. Ah, that sounds interesting. But he also mentions that it's spending between $120 to $180
Yeah,
on a
you
controller.
certainly pay for it. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
It feels awesome, but you certainly pay for that. It's got like index finger pad triggers on the back of it that you can like program to certain things. It's a really cool controller, I gotta say. But
Oh, nice. And Shy Guy told us that he does like the Wii remote.
no, Shy Guy, you are banned. Officially starting now. I said if you pick the Wiimote, you are
That's
off
true.
the show, I think,
Yeah.
to Kevin, and he didn't. But nope, Shy, you're out. Sorry, man.
Nice. But he said I guess his real answer is the Switch Pro controller, which is a good real answer.
Oh, okay, good. You're back in. No worries. I got you, man.
Nice. The other question that we had from our previous episode was what underrated DS game you would recommend for someone to play even today? Dragon mentioned Ghost Trick, which I definitely agree with. More than underrated, I feel like that was under the radar for a lot of people. It's a great adventure game.
Yeah, it was for me. I actually never got the chance to play it. But I heard a lot of good things about it, so yeah.
Definitely. And Shy Guy said Henry Hatsworth in the Puzzling Adventure. Now, this one I've heard a lot of good things about. I
Yeah,
haven't
I
played
played
it. Nice.
I did. So it's like a combination platformer with like a Tetris Attack style puzzle game when you do certain things. It's really
Oh.
interesting and fun to play. So yeah, great pick.
Nice. So, do we have any answers for that?
Yeah, I mean I can start. And to call this underrated now maybe is a bit of a stretch. But I do feel it's overlooked even in its series. I'm gonna go with Advance Wars Dual Strike. Which was the first Advance Wars on DS of two. Days of Ruin was the second one, and it changed the series a lot.
Yes.
But Dual Strike, I think, is the best Advanced Wars style game, period. There is. The content in it was great. The new commanding officers, for anybody who hasn't played an Advanced Wars, it's basically like an army version of Fire Emblem, where you're not really worried about your characters. You're actually worried about the strategy that you're going into each battle with. I don't think that another game has done it as well. A lot of people say Advance Wars 2 on Game Boy Advance is the best in the series. I disagree with that completely. I think Dual Strike was by far the best in the series. Much better than Wargroove, sorry to say. But yeah, it's just I just love that game. I really, really do. And for the amount that I like it, it's like one of, I think, 4 DS games that I've kept over the years.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of the games got kind of, replaced over time with various other games and such as we kind of move past the DS. That game never did, and that game remains the high point of the series to me. So, yeah, I will always talk good things about Advance Wars Dual Strike.
Ah, nice. The one I would recommend anybody to play if you haven't is a little game called Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime. Did either of you play this one?
No, I didn't. I knew
No.
about it. I never played it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Zelda. It reminds me like of Zelda in a way, like an adventure type of game, but it's in the Dragon Quest environment. You're only playing with slime characters. It's filled with goo puns all over the place, and it has a lot of different combat elements. There's the regular like adventure type, even some environmental puzzles, but there's also like a huge mech fighting aspect to it, which is really cool. It's a really good game, very good music, and a very nice, funny sense of humor.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard really good things about it, but again, never really got a chance.
I liked Scribble Knots. I know that's
Oh,
kind of
Nah,
different,
it's a great game.
but being the Harbinger of Cthulhu is really fun. So
So Scribblenauts was like extremely I mean, it went for it. I think is what I want to
Yeah.
say. Like,
it's pretty innovative.
yeah, the thought of like anything you type, literally anything you type will show up in the game. Like, obviously there's a limit to the stuff that they actually programmed, but that limit is actually very wide. Like, for especially a DS game at the time, like you could do some crazy stuff in that game. And it's still a good series to pick up. I think I forget what the collection is called, but there's 2 Scribblenauts games on Switch. Showdown is not good, but there is a mega collection that includes Unlimited and Unmasked, which were both Wii U games in that era. If that gets cheap, yeah, I'd recommend it because Scribblenauts is a great series.
And I like the music.
Oh, music was great.
That one little song at the end was great. I still hum it.
Nice.
Yeah. Great pick. Awesome pick.
Cool. And we have a question for this week, but we're actually going to answer it ourselves this week. So the reason for that is because next week it's going to be the Game Awards, and it is very likely, we kind of expected that the fifth and final Smash Brothers DLC character from the first Gaming Pass is going to be revealed. So our question for this week is if you have any final guesses or wishes as to who is going to be the fifth DLC character.
Oh, man. I've been hurt before. All right, I'm gonna wait on this one. Beck, go ahead.
Sothis, Fire Emblem.
Sothis.
Oh.
Yes. I think they're gonna give us something huge. That's a huge game. It's a great game. It's, spoiler alert, my game of the year. Sothis. She's awesome. A little annoying, but mostly awesome.
just a little bit. It's no big deal.
I loved Sergio's diplomacy there. A little.
I actually really like Sothis. So you were still when you stopped playing Fire Emblem, you were still at the point where she is annoying. She gets better.
Okay.
A lot better. Yeah.
Cool. Everybody thinks she's annoying at the start, but
yeah.
I think her voice acting is impeccable. She's got a great voice.
Nice.
All right, Serge, who do you think it's gonna be?
Well, honestly, I'm still hoping for Waluigi, and no matter what happens, I'm always gonna be hoping for him. But who knows? Based on how the 4 characters have been, with third-party collaborations and everything, I'm expecting either Amaterasu from Okami. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
Working with Capcom, or Spyro.
Dude,
love it.
I would love Spyro. I like the fact that you just listed 2 quadrupeds. So walk on 4 feet. Because there's not that many of those. Like Duck Hunt is one, and there's really just not that many in Smash. And those are 2 really good ones. So yeah. Also, anything that they do with like a weird Sony crossover. So I know Spyro is not a Sony character. He's been on Nintendo. The Spyro collection is on Switch.
Yes.
But he's been traditionally kind of linked to PlayStation. Anything like that is just kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a game where Mario fights Banjo-Kazooie fights Spyro. That's just cool. Like, that's just really cool. So,
Spyro would make me try that game again. He would.
Oh, nice.
Try Smash?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. I'm going a couple different ways here because Sakurai has specifically said he wants to get as many game worlds into it as possible, which I'm taking as he really just wants, like all these collaborations to be as crazy as possible.
Ka-ching. I'm kidding.
I mean, yeah, to some extent, but also it's quickly making Smash Ultimate maybe the coolest video game of all time. And I mean, like at that point, it's getting so silly that it's almost hard to argue that this is the coolest thing ever. It's like 80 characters from everywhere, like John Cena joins Smash. I like who knows? I don't know. Okay, I've been trying to fight it. I'm not gonna fight it anymore. I don't think this is gonna happen. If this does ever happen, my jaw's gonna hit the floor, and you will see me celebrating everywhere, with Kevin levels of excitement. I promise. At the Game Awards next week, this is absolutely not gonna happen, but it is gonna happen. Absolutely, Geno will finally be confirmed for Super Smash Bros. Geno, the puppet doll character from Super Mario RPG, who quickly becomes the best character that you only see in one game ever. People have been asking. He's gotten a lot of and the only reason I bring it back up, and I'm cringing as I do because his fan base is a little excitable, I'll say. But the only reason I bring it back up is people have been asking for him. Sakurai's even talked about him since Melee. For like practically every Smash game, Gino's name comes up. And this just seems to be kind of the game of finally realizing the dreams of Ridley and K. Rool and Banjo-Kazooie and all these characters that, you know, maybe should have been in earlier or should not have been ever. But, you know, it's finally realizing the dream. I would love it. I would love it, and I hope he shows up. He will not show up. So there you go. There you go. That's my my pick.
Nice.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's probably gonna do it. Definitely get in our Discord. Hit us up on Twitter. Tell us who you think is going to be revealed for Super Smash Brothers. Do you think it's gonna happen at the Game Awards? I do. We will all be watching together. We'll have a channel in our Discord, so please jump in there. It's always fun when we do this. I'll certainly be watching. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Hopefully, we also get a Metroid Prime Trilogy Shadow drop, which I could definitely see happening. So, it's only been about 3 years coming. So, there you go. Hot takes.
Nice. Well, with that, yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. We're gonna jump out of here. But you can keep the discussion going by chatting with us on our Discord group. The description for this episode has a link to our Discord if you would like to join. We are also on Twitter and on Instagram as NintendoJump, and we also have a Facebook group. Please send us any feedback you have at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. The best way to support this show is through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/NintendoJump, or by leaving a review for the show in your favorite podcast application. We would really appreciate it. This is Sergio, and on behalf of Daryl, Rebecca, and Kevin, thank you for listening. We hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
I'm filling in for Kevin this week, so... I
was going to do that.
Bye. See ya.